Hello, I'm Steve Chancellor with Second Look Training and Forensic Consulting. Welcome to A Few Minutes with Detectives. Normally in our channel, we spend our time talking about criminal investigations and crime scene processing, staged crime scenes, for instance, and other such investigative or law enforcement topics. Today we're going to shift a little bit, and this is in regards to some communication I had with the public over a potential online fraud that I know is being perpetrated constantly throughout the United States. What this involves is the online dating sites where an offender creates a profile identifying themselves as a military service member. Could be any branch. Very interesting, it could also be a female or a male profile. They then engage in communicating with some other person that's looking for a long-term relationship or potential marriage. They then engage in some communication. Sometimes they send photographs back and forth. And then at the appropriate time, the so-called service member will express a need for money. Most of the popular ones that I've seen is that they have a sick child that needs special surgery or some type of special medical treatment, and that their insurance simply doesn't cover it. So they're very short and they don't have enough money to have this done. Or another one is that they're overseas in Afghanistan or Iraq or some other location, and they need to come home on emergency leave for some reason, but they don't have enough money to buy a ticket in order to come back. I can tell you right now, all of those are frauds. They're a scam. This is perpetrated on the mark or their target, and it's generally somebody that is unfamiliar with the military service. But real quick, the military service is not this omnipotent system out there. As a matter of fact, we are 100% designed to take care of all of our service members, regardless of their service. We have more social programs than probably most of the civilians do in the outside world, as we say. So, for instance, one of the big thing, the so-called I need money for surgery for my child. Well, one of the benefits of being in the military service is free medical care for your entire family. So, even if the local military hospital, wherever that soldier is stationed, can't handle that particular treatment or disease or whatever, they simply send him to another civilian hospital that can do it at virtually no charge to the service member. So all these reasons for money involving the medical and all that stuff, it's just not true. Same thing is when they say I need money so I can come home on emergency leave and I can't get it. Well, that's not true. Because if we have a soldier or airman marine that's overseas and they have an emergency situation at home, the military knows how to get them back. Okay, we can send them back at virtual no charge or at a very minimal charge. So that's just ridiculous. Okay, it doesn't happen that way. One of the things that I always caution when we talk about this subject is, remember, service members certainly have monetary problems. Okay, we're certainly much better paid than when I first entered the service in 1973. So we're much better paid. So could they have monetary problems? And the answer is, yeah, of course. It's always a possibility. But what you should ask yourself is that do you want to enter a relationship with someone that already has monetary problems? And would you, in fact, send money to somebody that you hardly know? And see, and this is what the offenders are counting on. They're counting on that you will not rationally think this situation out, but that you would react emotionally, and that you would be emotionally driven to help these people out. And it's taking advantage of us as Americans, because as Americans, we know we're probably the most generous people in the entire world. We're constantly trying to help everybody. This is part of our Judeo-Christian upbringing in our society, that we always try to help the underdog or try to help someone that is downtrodden. That's what they're taking advantage of. That's why they paint such a picture of dread and need to count on you reacting emotionally, right, rather than rationally. Okay. Now, one of the tests I always suggest is if you were ever to write this person back when they say they needed money, and you write them back and say, well, I don't have any money to send you, don't be surprised when suddenly contact is broken off. Okay. Because if you tell them you don't have any money to send to them, well, they're not going to waste any more time on you. Okay. Now, these scams, they run on volume. Okay. And what I mean by that is it's not just one person writing to one person to try to scam them. This offender is probably writing to 20 to 50, maybe even 100 different people at the same time. Okay. Because they run in volume. Because out of that 100, they may only get 2 that are willing to send them money, and that's who they're going to concentrate on. Okay, so after a couple exchanges of emails and everything is going good and great and wonderful, they ask for money. As soon as you say, I can't send it to you, boom, they move on. They're not going to spend any more time with you. Okay, now a lot of these guys are very clever. How do they develop their profiles? Well, it's simple. They go online, they go through Facebook, they'll find somebody that's dressed in a military uniform. It's simply cut and paste photographs, and then you put it over onto a profile on the dating website. Okay, so it's really not that difficult. It's not that difficult really to accomplish these days. And with Photoshop, if you have the basic photograph, then you can insert anything into it that you want. Okay, but one thing that you will find is although they seem to be pretty clever, they really don't know anything about the military. Okay. They really don't. They're not familiar with the units. They're not familiar with where we conduct our training. One of the examples that I had someone send me a photograph who were questioning about the authenticity of their person that they were writing. They sent me a photograph. They said this was the most recent photograph they had, and it was him in uniform. Unfortunately, when I looked at it, I recognized that it was a uniform that had been replaced over 6 years before. So we weren't even issued that uniform. So there's no way this could be a proper one or a current photograph. Okay. And the second thing that I'll see, and we see this all the time, particularly in the emails, that I'm able to recognize that this is not even an American that is corresponding with these people. This is somebody who's definitely fluent in English, but my impression is that they learn to speak English, that is from Great Britain rather than American English. And I've seen that before. For instance, we spell words different, same words, but we spell it different than the British do many times, such as the word center. We spell it C-E-N-T-E-R. The Brits spell it C-E-N-T-R-E. So when I see something like that, that's a dead giveaway that this is really not an American. Or sometimes their phraseology or their word usage doesn't fit with how we normally converse here in the United States. So it can be pretty complicated until you really sit down and listen. Again, what I encourage everybody is to make a logical decision if you decide to do this. Don't make your decisions based on emotion, based on he seems like such a nice guy and I'm in love with him. That's fine. Just remember, once the money is gone, there's nothing we can do about it because the majority of these people that are committing the frauds are overseas. So even though they're using a soldier's name, there's nothing the military can do about it. There's probably nothing the FBI can do about it. Okay? That's why I'm trying to kind of come up with this public service and says, hey, listen, if you engage in this and you started to communicate, no problem, okay? But as soon as money is brought up, please be cautious, okay? Ask around. Be careful. I am familiar with several cases when thousands of dollars have been sent over to these people and they have absolutely nothing. One of the big keys, okay, if you're uncertain and you decide to test it out, okay, and you want to send them money, You'll be surprised how many times they tell you to send the money, not to them, but they want you to wire the money to some other account. It's not even under their name. Well, why don't they want you to send them a check, right? Because they're not who they claim to be. So if you sent the check to Captain Jones and it's not really Captain Jones, they can't cash the check. Okay. Also, if they're so desperate for money, then why do they want it on like a debit card? See what I mean? So always use great caution whenever you're discussing stuff like that with these people that you really don't know. So listen, that's all we have for today. Hopefully, I'm going to prevent some crime, and I don't have to talk to any more scammers. And it's real sad because I get at least one or two every month, and there's really nothing we can do about it. So if you're a detective or a law enforcement, I'd ask you to go check out our website, www.secondlook.com. Take a look at our training that we offer and see if you're interested in something. We'd love to come out and visit to give some of our training classes. If you're from the general public and you just have an interest, we hope to see you next time on a future edition of A Few Minutes with Detectives. We'd also ask you to subscribe so you know when the next one comes out. We'd really like to hear from you. Make some comments below. We appreciate it very much.